For many, spring means it's time to start gardening. Your mind might be ready, but what about your body? Well, today we have some tips to help you get your shoulders, arms, legs, and knees ready for the gardening season. We'll also show you how to use gardening tools the right way so they'll be easier to use and easier on your body. I'm joined by our favorite horticulturalist and frequent guest from UVM Extension and the Department of Plant and Soil Sciences, Leonard Perry. Welcome back, Leonard. And
Great to be back.
You've brought a guest.
I have, Jason Wilson-Holm, who I met last summer. He was giving a workshop to local landscapers on proper use of tools and your body, and I know a lot of us gardeners, bodies don't move as well as they used to, and we end up with bad backs. So I thought I've been wanting to do a show like this for a while, and it really shows some good tips about, basic tips about gardening, so I invited Jason.
Jason, how did you get interested in working with landscapers and gardeners?
Well, it started out, my mom was an avid gardener, so kind of grew up with her doing that, and then moving to Burlington area, I was doing landscape work as part of several jobs, working at the hospital, and I actually injured myself doing pretty heavy work, and it was interesting. The recovery part of that made me want to learn more about the body, and then recognized a lot of the areas that people could work on to not get hurt when they, gardening or landscape work, and just general moving around. There's a lot of that.
Well, what are some of the ways that people can get their bodies into shape for gardening?
One of the best things that people can do right now, coming out of winter and into spring, is to just get moving. Our bodies get really good at what they do and what they don't do. So, getting up and out of the chair and just starting to walk, starting to go through a bigger range of motion, get things warmed up is really the first step.
Leonard, what do you do to get in shape for gardening?
Well, one of the, as Jason said, just getting up and moving about. And one of the simple things, I just brought a couple examples here. Can look at, of course, there are the weights that people are familiar with. Dumbbells, these are 4 pounds each, and you can just start, carrying these around. And basically 4 pounds is about a half gallon of milk, say. Or if you want to really then move it up, start light and move it up, then, here's 8, a full gallon, say, of water, but put, a gallon in each hand, just walking around, something like that simple. And also some stretching. I know Jason has some examples that of how to stretch. And
how important is it, Jason, to stretch before you garden? You stretch before you work out a lot of times, so it seems to make sense.
Yeah, it does. And so the concept of stretching and holding stretches is kind of an older term. Like right now we talk about dynamic warm-ups. And so some of the stretching to do, we call it dynamic stretching, or just always moving to get the juices going and loosen up. Super important to do. And I was going to share a few things that people can do either sitting or standing up, but most of us could stand a little bit more. So getting out of your chair and just starting with your neck and turning and going through a full range of motion. So looking all the way over your left shoulder, all the way over your right, and then tipping side to side. And you don't have to hold these very long. It's more about a warm-up. That's one good place to start. The next place would be in the shoulders. Most of us end up here in that forward shoulder, driving computer. So just getting back and starting to roll the shoulders back. You can go backwards and then forward. That gets you moving, gets the shoulders loosened up. And then we're talking about gardening and working with our hands, so rolling the wrists as well. Right now I hear a lot of crunching in mine. I haven't done this yet today, so it's important to kind of, like the Tin Man, knock the rust off those joints to get them loose and ready to go. And stretch your fingers too. Okay. So.
What about chairs? I know I use a chair sometimes just to...
Yeah, absolutely. So getting the lower body going too is huge. Something that inspired me this morning was the wooden cutouts of the person bending over. They use them as decorations. Right. Those are not inspirational. You shouldn't be inspired to bend at the straight leg and reach down to reach your tools. Ultimately, being able to squat down to your work at whatever level that is the best. So if you had a chair, have one right here. You can use that tip for balance to get started, holding onto the back of it, and then just sitting down and back. So my feet are flat on the floor, chest is up, and just...
So that when you are picking things up, it's your legs that are absorbing that, not straining
right,
your
we
back.
want to pick up from our knees and our hips, not bending over like this.
Right, because that's when your back can get hurt.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now, Leonard, you've showed us some tools before that are ergonomically designed to reduce stress on joints and limbs, and you've brought some of those examples today to show us.
Yeah, I did, Judy. One of the ones I like is this, and these with the curved handles, because a lot of times if you have a straight handle, you know, your
It's your
arms,
wrist
and
that
it's
has to
amazing,
curve.
just a little bit like that, you know, and you're holding it, and the weight, and Jason can explain that better, I'm sure, but just a natural feel like this when you're digging. And I guess also, too, we were talking earlier, if you're digging a lot of holes, it's easier to pull rather than, you know, using all this set.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of tools out there, and the right tool for the job, and the being in the right shape for the job you're doing too. So work within your limits is a really good concept. And I have some heavy duty tools, and some of those ergonomic tools can really
here, I know you brought,
reduce
show us
this.
those.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a tool called a Hori Hori that's very heavy duty. So if you're digging in some clay or roots, you can kind of really lever that down in and push. But if you do have wrist problems or arthritis, playing with different shaped handles is a really good way to go. So.
And I think the other thing too, I need to mention is the repetitions, because I know years ago I developed, some carpal tunnel I still have from doing that all day long, digging holes. And I think I like to tell people, if this is correct, to change around, do so many. How many would you say repetitions, or raking or digging or whatever before you switch off to something else?
Well, listen. I tell people to listen to their body. So pain is it's your body's way to communicate with you. So if you start to feel tight in an area, it's time to switch and do something else and stretch that out. And that also brings me to, with any of these movements, if you have pain in the joints, get checked out. Don't just kind of go into your own exercise program. It's always good to have somebody professional take a look at that.
And the whole thing that says, no pain, no gain, I guess that really doesn't apply. If you're in pain, if you're doing something, raking, whatever, and you start to have some pain, stop, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. Kind of just stop and become aware. Don't just work through it and then deal with it later. It's listen to what your body's saying to you.
Well, I think that's a big deal too if you're working on a project, because you want to see the results, and you want to see the results of the work that you've been doing. So if you're raking and you're in pain, you say, well, that's too bad, I want to finish this. And maybe that's what you shouldn't be doing. Maybe you should take a break, do something else for a while, and maybe come back to the raking.
Absolutely.
And then I know you brought these clippers here. What's the
I did.
story with those?
I did. And so, interesting story. I went out to the garage as we were all kind of dusting off our tools, and something had dropped on the blade, and I can't close it, so it's dull. But when you're using your pruners, there's a right way to hold them. The handles are shaped for your fingers, so the blade cuts away from you. But this is an eye-opener to me, to go get a new blade. Don't work with dull tools. Don't work with broken equipment.
Or try to clean it or sharpen it so it does.
Do your maintenance in the spring to make sure you're working with the right equipment.
I know before I've tried to cut with dull pruners, and you're really having to cramp down to even get through. Whereas if it's nice and sharp, and in fact I invested in some sharpening, blades, files. With the diamond tips on it to really. So I've got to work on that this weekend too, to get those sharp so they'll just cut right through. So the right way to hold this would be
it's right there and cutting
like
away.
that,
and with all of the tools that we're using, it's really important to get your work close to you, or bring your body close to your work. If I was pruning, would you hand me that pruner again?
Yeah.
This is a really common thing we see, is people reaching up for something and holding on and reaching out for it. So move your step stool, get close to the work that you're working on, and working close to the body. And that goes for even the bigger tools. You want to work in your space close to your center. And
I think the key word that you just said was, if you have to hold on to something to maintain your balance while you're working,
holding
probably
on
not
and
a good
reaching
idea.
is not a good idea, no.
Yeah.
So.
And I think with lifting too, I know that's one of the things I learned too, is have it close to you. Don't just, I was always amazed how much more stress it puts on your body, your back, I guess, when you hold out here.
It's a lot of stress. So the squatting exercise is a really good way to get into the movement of lifting something and keeping it close to you, not reaching out way in front to pick up. Get close, get it underneath your feet.
And use your legs more.
And use your legs and lift straight up. Yep.
And you brought some other tools too.
Yeah, one of the other tools I brought was this shovel, which I just got, which, I have a shorter handle one, but, so I have to get down and whatever. So this I figured, okay, so I don't really have to bend that much. And it's got there are a whole set of tools with these rounded handles, easier to hold, people that have a problem. The other thing I find a problem, just using them, to a lot of people push, they're using their shoulders.
Right.
That's why they have feet rests. So you can use your foot, use your body to, work and garden smarter, I think. And then what the rake I got similarly has a curved kind of thing, so it's not a straight handle one. And like a lot of gardeners, I a lot of times was figuring, I'll just do this. But Jason was telling me that's not right.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show today. And
so you don't just pull this way. So show us the right way.
So as a chiropractor, it's job security when I see something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of low back pain that comes in. So
Right.
When you're pulling across, a lot of people have the pain that's right
Sure.
here. One of the better ways to do that would be to stand in an athletic stance as if you were kind of pushing something and work towards you. So if you're
So you're not torquing your body.
you're not torquing and you're pulling the work in towards your body. And the same goes for shoveling too. So I brought a longer handled shovel. Very similar concept to using the foot pedal to press down into it. But then when you want to lift, I'm going to use my elbow on my knee and shorten that lever. So I can dig, I can stand up with my legs and then just tip and move the dirt versus trying to do it with a straight back.
Right, or bent over.
Or bent over like this, yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so are there some key points that people should remember when they're getting ready to garden?
Absolutely. First off is to get moving first. There are hundreds of different stretches and things that you can do, but try to make your warm-up look like the work that you're about to do. So if you have a lot of lifting and moving of things to do, then going through some of those squat movements to gradually build up maybe that resistance. Maybe you do a couple with your body weight and then you add a little bit of weight. If you're going to be reaching up in the trees or reaching into your rose bushes, then that would be focusing on your upper body, stretching your hands and wrists. So really kind of look at the work and make your warm-up look like your work.
How about after you're done? Should you do some more stretching, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So after your workout, I think everybody's an athlete. So that's the time to do those longer holding stretches. So 30 seconds up to 2 minutes of just stretching the hamstrings, kind of maybe some longer holds on those wrists and kind of holding in those directions. And then making sure you're hydrated, making sure you're keeping up on electrolytes. It can be deceiving when it's still cooler temperature out there, but we still need to be drinking water throughout the day. Yeah.
And also to sunscreen.
Even
Yes.
the chairs, I guess you could use those for just, I know a lot of times that, or I know you were showing me the other day just the grabbing the doorknobs and just using that for the squats and just simple things like that, but just to use.
There's a lot of places that we can go with that. So being able to go through a full range of motion and squat all the way down should be a goal. I'm not going to do it now and get down on the floor, but sort of approaching it with a beginner's mind and getting out of your chair and seeing where you are right now. And if this is all that you can squat, then that's great. You have a goal between now and the thaw to be able to squat a little bit deeper and get a little bit stronger before you actually have to go out and pull on the weeds.
Right,
So
because-
again, you want to use your legs and not your back. So that's the real key thing, I guess. Yeah.
And so if people want to find out more information about this or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I have an office here in Burlington, and it's Move Well Spine and Sport, and I'm a chiropractor. I do a lot of movement rehab. So we talk about chiropractic and movement rehabilitation. And I approach everybody as sort of an athlete who just wants to move their body better. They can check out the website. It's movewellvt.com, and all of our information is there. So.
And now, Leonard, also, our viewers know that you cover a lot of topics on your website
Yeah,
as well.
among the articles on my website, actually, I've got 3. One is just on this spring training for gardeners, as I call it, being baseball season. One on horticultural health, things like you mentioned before, like the sunscreen and how to deal with allergies and all those kind of things. And then the proper lifting article, just on that, similar things that we were talking about, so you don't really throw your back out when you're just going out to garden.
Right, and as you pointed out earlier, it's good to just, if you don't know where to start just with your head and your neck
Yeah.
and work your way down.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.